and welcome to Let's Talk with Lakshmi, a show about us, our people, our culture, our experiences, our lifestyle. And ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed my pleasure to bring to you live in our studios here of Let's Talk with Lakshmi, none other than the godfather, the legendary of all broadcasting, of TV and radio, broadcasting none other than Mr. Ishri Singh. Mr. Singh, welcome to Let's Talk with Lakshmi.
Thanks very much indeed for inviting me on your very popular television show.
Thank you, sir. It is definitely an honor to have you here. Now, a question that everybody's been wondering. Mr. Singh, who influenced you to start media?
Well, right away, my loving wife. My late loving wife.
Okay.
She influenced me to get involved in broadcasting. And the general manager was my neighbor in those days, and he's the one that employed me on Radio Demerara.
And who is this? Who's the general manager at that
Rafi Khan.
Okay, famous name, Rafi Khan,
yes.
for all of you guys who know him.
He was the GM.
So Mr. Singh, how old were you when you started?
In the 21, 22.
Now, you're 53 years in this, correct?
53 years, that's
53
correct.
years. So in 53 years, you've been all over the world. I know that not only here in North America, but you've been in South America, obviously the Caribbean.
Right.
You've been in Europe, London, and India.
India.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about the experience in India.
In India?
Yes.
Oh, I went to India with Kali Bharat Yatra. And I was the first Indo-Caribbean broadcaster who was interviewed on All India Radio, and the courtesy of the Indian High Commission in New York, he gave me a letter of introduction to the program director of All India Radio, and he was very, very happy to have a discussion with me. I spoke so well about the Guyanese people, the Trinidadians, and Indo-Caribbean people on the whole. They were so, well, they are so loving and dedicated to their culture.
Yes.
And the guys there were very pleased about it. See, our foreparents and parents left India many, many years ago, and they took with them their music, their singing, their dancing, and they are still very active. Although they're here in North America, they're still very active in promoting their cultural activities.
Now, Mr. Singh, I do understand that you were able to interview a lot of Bollywood stars, not only actors and actresses, but playback singers, famous people like Lakshmee, Mukesh. Tell me a little bit about that experience.
Well, I had the opportunity of emceeing a number of shows along with Ayub Hamid. And the one that I can recall very vividly is the show that we had later had at Albion Sports Complex.
Okay.
That was a memorable show. Thousands of people lined the highway when we were on our way to the complex. They were so happy to welcome the singing Nightingale, the singing star of India. And it would take India another 100 years to produce another Lata Mangeshkar. And she was given a big welcome at Albion Sports Complex.
Now, were you the first host to welcome her and meet her and interview with her? In Guyana? You were?
Yes, you see, Lata can't speak English well.
Right.
So I talked to her in Hindi, and she was very, very... I'm not educated in Hindi, but I can converse with her.
You can converse.
And she was very pleased with that.
I can only imagine.
And she said she was so pleased with the hospitality of the Guyanese people. And the Indo-Caribbean people as a whole. They showed her great love and affection.
Speaking of Indo-Caribbean people, back then when you started 53 years ago, tell me, what was the significance of having an Indian radio host in Guyana?
Well, Mr. Khan, Rafi Khan, was very optimistic that I would do very well.
Okay.
Because he knew that I could speak Hindi a little bit. And when once you know Hindi a little bit, you can express the meaning of these songs and give some details of the background. There's many songs that has a great significance, like festivals,
right.
religious functions, and I had the advantage of explaining the significance of these different songs, festival and religious and folklore songs. So I'm very familiar with all these numbers.
And one thing I know that you're very loved for is that you would mix with all types of people, not only Hindus but Christians, Muslims. Yes. You're loved by all cultures, all religions alike.
But as a broadcaster, we are supposed to reflect on the entire community, the activities of every member of the community, whether you're Hindu, Muslim or Christian. We cater for all these different cultural backgrounds, and that is what will make you popular in the community,
right.
when you understand people's culture,
yes.
and you cater for those different occasions.
Yes.
I was very happy to do that.
I'm taking lots of hints here, guys. Now, I have to tell you, you have the most charming voice, and I could only dream of the day that I sound as eloquent as you.
When I die, I'll leave my voice.
So I want to ask you, were you born with this beautiful voice, or did you have to go to any type of training? How did you develop this charming, eloquent voice that you have today?
Well, it's I suppose a blessing from God.
Blessing from God, okay. No training. You know, today some of us have to go for training, but Mr. Singh here is naturally talented. So I have to say, I have to ask you, you became very famous in Guyana. You were very popular. What made you come to New York City? Tell me a little bit about the migration story of your family.
Well, it was during the period of the Burnham administration.
Okay.
When the Minister of Home Affairs, Yvonne Harewood Ben,
okay.
instructed Radio Demerara to play English songs during the Indian programs.
Okay.
But I objected to that vigorously. I said, how can you do this?
Right, that's an Indian
The sponsors will not be happy with that.
Okay.
The sponsors want to reach the Indian population. They advertise on the other programs to reach the other population.
Okay.
And I was very, very sad about it. I objected to it.
Okay.
And even Rafi Kans was very unhappy with that.
Obviously, it's an Indian program. You want to play your Indian music,
right.
your cultural songs.
And during those days, you had no English, no Indian songs during the Indian programs. Why is it they're introducing English song on the Indian programs?
Right.
For instance, the morning show, that was a program dedicated to the sugar workers, the rice workers and the farmers, the early risers. They were predominantly Indians, right?
What kind of songs would you play for the workers?
Filmy songs.
Filmy songs, okay.
In those days, we had only the 78 records. We had no 45s or LPs,
okay.
or DVDs and CDs. I never knew about these modern technologies.
Okay.
And what happened, I was so unhappy with that situation.
Right.
So I discussed with the wife, look, I am fed up with this situation. I decided to approach the American Embassy for permission to migrate to New York.
To New York.
And she listened to my story very carefully. And after she told me she will communicate with me at a later stage. And within 2 or 3 weeks, a reply came from the embassy that I must report back to the embassy office. And I was given permission. She gave me 3 months to leave the country. 3 months. So I had to sell my property, my motor car and motorcycle and everything. So at a later stage, the same minister phoned Mr. Rafi Khan and said, Mr. Singh is migrating to North America. Well, he's not aware of that, so he contacted me.
Yes.
I said, no, I got a letter of welcome to pursue my studies in broadcasting in Toronto, right? So I'm going to New York and then to Toronto.
Okay.
You see? So I was given 3 months and I sold everything.
Amazing.
And I just thank the Lord that I got permission from the American government to migrate here to continue the same field of activity, broadcasting. And I'm fortunate that I got some nice sponsors and they sponsored me.
Yes.
And today I'm a citizen. I thank the Lord that I'm in America.
We do have to thank the Lord. He knows what He did because He brought you here to us. And you've done so much. You are what we call the godfather of broadcasting here. You have led the way for first generation, second generation, now third generation as far as TV hosts and radio personalities. So, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, you heard it the first time here on Let's Talk with Lakshmi, Mr. Ishri's story of how he stood up for his people and would not tolerate anyone changing his Indian program.
Yeah, you see, the Indians are very sentimental with their culture.
Yes.
They don't want unadulterated music. They want clean, wholesome Indian music. So when you try to mix their music with Western tunes,
yes,
they won't be happy. We have got a great culture. Indian people,
Beautiful.
people of Indian origin, they've
Yes.
got a great culture. And India today is a great nation.
Yes, and we are. And Mr. Singh, tell me, think about the 53 years of your experiences and tell me, what is your most memorable TV interview or TV moment?
Well, I would refer to my visit to India radio,
Okay.
because that was a live broadcast from All India Radio. The first time that an Indo-Caribbean announcer was interviewed on All India Radio with the help of the Indian High Commission in New York City. He gave me a letter of introduction. And the guy was so pleased because I composed a poem
Yes.
dedicated to India.
Nice.
That India's name is running in my blood like flame. All my body tingles when I hear her wonderful name. India's heart is holy and her mind is great. I feel so proud and happy to share an Indian faith. And it's a long poem.
They must have
And
loved
above all,
Yeah.
I'm so glad to think that you are an Indian too.
it. Yes, we all are. And we have to remember where we originally come
Right,
from.
right.
Okay, and we've come from such a rich culture
Oh, yes.
from India. And we have so much to be grateful for.
India is a great nation, great nation.
Definitely. Now, other than India, I know that you are in Canada, Europe,
In London.
London. Tell us a little bit about that.
But this was in London when I visited the BBC at Bush House, and I got a few Guyanese and Trinidadian artists to get together to prepare a special program calling the Caribbean.
calling the
We had a live broadcast from Bush House in London for calling the Caribbean, and I was given the opportunity by Mr. Ron Sanders. He was the producer of that show, and I sent out greetings to different friends in Trinidad and Guyana, and people said it was so nice to hear the voice of Guyana in London on the BBC.
Excellent. The voice of Guyana. Now, Mr. Singh, tell me, in your opinion, how do you feel that the content of our shows have changed from back then to now, or even from Guyana to here in New York?
Oh, it's a big change, a big change. Altogether, we had a lot of local talent in Guyana.
Yes.
Those guys were not professional. They tried their best,
Sure.
like local Indian performers.
Yes.
They would travel from different parts of the country to come down to Radio Demerara. I did that show, I produced that show. After the rehearsals, if you make the grade, I'd love you to take part. But now things have changed. We have Bollywood hits, we have so many music videos. Things have changed tremendously from the time I came to New York City. You know, we have modern orchestra.